Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm going to be continuing our discussion on the nature of self-doubt and confidence. And something that came to me today was really speaking about the notion of exposure therapy as this fundamental practice when it comes to creating more confidence for ourselves and overcoming these barriers of our mind. And exposure therapy is, like it says, it's this practice of exposing oneself to difficult and scary things. Now, often our self-doubt, it ferments and develops when we are not exposing ourselves to difficult things, when we're choosing to reside in our comfort zone, when we're choosing to stay within that safe, familiar space. But that safe, familiar space is never what allows us to truly grow or evolve, really. We only really grow and evolve when we choose to expand towards the limit, to expand towards that area of friction where we do not know whether what we're doing is going to work. We're filled with sort of this anxiousness, but we still do that thing, even though it is making us uncomfortable, because we know from our higher self's perspective that resistance is what's required in order to grow. And, this is something that I've been sort of trying to implement as I've sort of tried to expand my recording practices. Like, something I was sort of dabbling with is the whole notion of going out and about and recording in public on my phone and stuff like that. And a small little part of me felt a little bit anxious about that, because whilst I want to go out into these sorts of places, I often feel uncomfortable when other people look at me whilst I'm recording. It sort of disrupts my flow. And so I'm sort of meditating on all of that and trying to understand the way I can overcome that sort of feeling of uncomfortableness. And obviously what came to me was that, I can't reason myself into feeling less uncomfortable. What I have to do is to just go out and do it. I have to expose myself to these uncomfortable feelings and to realize that it isn't that bad. And indeed, when I was studying psychology many years ago, and the topic of phobias came up, and one of the central ways in which people treat phobias is through exposure therapy. It's through sort of slowly easing you into more and more of the thing that you're afraid of in small doses, and building up your tolerance, building up your resistance. And I guess, what I have to acknowledge is that I have a mild social phobia and a mild psychological thing which is holding me back from just doing what I want to do and being okay with the fact that other people may see me. Other people may look at me or perhaps judge me. I have to really acknowledge that their judgments they're only as significant as I make them out to be. And you see, when you do have within yourself this practice of repeatedly putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, you naturally cultivate the essence of fearlessness. You can do things that without any sort of limitation, and you have an authentic self-confidence, and your capacities just go from level to level to level when you have this as your nature. So I guess one thing that I need to do is to try and learn how to go out and record. This is especially difficult when you're in India, because people will stare at you if you're a foreign tourist regardless, and especially so if you're holding a camera recording and speaking, because that's very unusual to them. So I guess one thing I need to get over is that feeling of being stared at. And because you always know when you're being stared at, I guess over time, I've sort of gotten used to that sort of experience from being in India and stuff. But it's still odd, you know. It's still odd. But yeah, I thought I'd just make that a short, quick little video. Hope that's been useful and insightful to all of you guys who are dealing with mental limitations at the moment. I'll see you guys next time. Adios and goodbye.